but I suppose it's difficult not to mention lockdown and COVID. And I suppose in the worlds and the clients you've been working with, have you seen a behaviour change in terms of what your clients are doing or what your clients' customers are doing? So let's go to Jennifer first.
Cool. So I'm gonna I think flip that question on its head a little bit. The way that we look at things at my agency is that there's always going to be some outside circumstance that could be influencing things if you want to look at it that way and give all of your power over to it. COVID was just simply like another circumstance. Sure, certain behaviors may change, and there were certain adjustments that were made perhaps a little bit more in March and April of last year. But overall, like the big picture, tried and true tactics and approaches that we've always used for our clients, we are still using. They are still working. We very consciously chose that and we do this on a regular basis, we are not giving our power away to something circumstantial, to an algorithm change, to even the iOS 14 updates, which again, it doesn't mean that we're ignoring the reality of these situations, but I believe that like holistic tried and true marketers are working almost on like a different plane than trying to keep up with every little individual thing that's going on in the world. Because the truth is there's always going to be something, right?
No, I agree. There is always something. But I suppose, have you seen an increase in activity or a bit more focus of people going, like, we want to up our budgets because they're not spending on maybe outdoor media, or they're not spending.
Yeah. One thing that we've been getting a lot of, and this has been going on for really a full year now, are a lot of prospects coming to us who originally owned some form of brick and mortar business and realize, okay, everything I've been doing up until now, like I have to find some way to take it online. So we've got a lot of clients who are yoga studio owners. Definitely a lot of people, by the way, in the fitness space, health coaches, personal trainers who, may have owned, multi-million-dollar gyms for so many years, and then business dead overnight. And so they're now looking at how can they essentially bring their business online, create online funnels to mirror the work that they were doing with their clients in person. And so we personally, as an agency, we saw 80% growth from 2019 to 2020. And I do think that a lot of that was everybody realizing, in order to kind of sustain going forward, we need to be able to operate 100% digitally.
Yeah, I think we've definitely seen the same. And Paul, what have you seen change in habits or behaviours from either your clients, consumers, or your clients since August?
Yes, so I've definitely seen a huge increase in activity. I agree with Jennifer. Coaches, I've been a new client, a big client that have come on board, but we're doing a lot of work over the last year. Podcasts have been going crazy. Social media, when it comes to e-commerce, so e-commerce going from the website, moving onto their social media platforms, that's also been big as well. And that's mainly B2C. And a lot of CEOs turning more, bashing down that corporate barrier and becoming more personal. So the CEO in his spare room, in his bedroom, doing Zooms, reaching out and being a lot more hands-on through the last year.
Hold that thought, because we're all going to get a little bit personal in a little while. So Dan, what have you noticed sort of the last 12 months? What things have you seen change?
Yeah, I think it's very hard not to miss the fact that social media engagement more generally at consumer level is up kind of year on year. There's lots of stats and data out there that shows that engagement, kind of pure interaction level, is up. There's a report by eMarketer and a report by Business that shows year on year from January to January up 20% in terms of active usage of social media apps, and fundamentally, I think that does come full circle back to the opportunity there is for brands to obviously capitalize on increased engagement and therefore put more content out there and put more activity through those platforms. And if we kind of hark straight back to that piece at the front, that poll actually you ran, where I think it was 65%, I think, said that they were increasing both their paid and organic activity. We're very much seeing that across our client base. I was just looking at the stats last night actually, and media spend is up in terms of the net volume of spend that our clients are putting through paid is up 60% year on year. So our brands are spending 60% more that we work with in January, February versus January, February last year, and putting that money into paid social and into social advertising. And I think it fundamentally what that does do is obviously shift, increase demand, reduce supply, reduce ad inventory, and costs are going up. And I think that comes, we are seeing probably what you're seeing in terms of, you mentioned kind of the CPM uplifts. November, December, and the start of January was hard work, because we were seeing an average kind of cost per thousand views, an average CPM of around kind of 12 to 13 pounds in the UK versus benchmark around £4 or £5 last year. So obviously just a numbers game. If you hold,
Paul's going to tell you it's time to go organic and stop chucking your money away.
That might be the case. That might be the case. And then if you hold, if you think just at a pure numbers level, if you keep the same click-through rate and you keep the same conversion rate, that's double the CPM. So it's now cost twice as much to effectively acquire a customer. And we are seeing some saturation in that space.
And I think the interesting question's got to be, at what point, I think for the last 10, 15, maybe even 20 years, the marketing, certainly digital marketing, has been dominated by the mathematicians, right? And it's all about the statistics. But if you go back to when I was reading my John Cotter marketing book at university, it was all about your P's, your price, your promotion, and all of those sort of things, and more about how you positioned your brand and the message and the story. But I think over the last 10, 15 years, have we just got carried away with looking at the stats, which is very, the guys in my data science team are probably not going to like the fact that I'm saying, let's all get creative and let's all improve our message. But I think there is a place for it all. So I suppose, Alex, what are your sort of big observations for the last 12 months?
Yeah, I think kind of to echo a couple of the things that Dan was saying, that because of sort of how retail and e-commerce has changed and had to change over the past 12 months, it means that a lot more brands are sort of trying to be active in the space. And off the back of that, that is ultimately pushing costs up. So I think there's good and bad to that. The good is that a lot of the smaller brands that may not necessarily have originally been on the platforms kind of are seeing a more level playing field, because everybody's shopping online, and it's opening some completely new channels up to them. And off the back of that, they're seeing some really strong results. I guess the problem is, because they don't necessarily have something to compare it against, they may not necessarily realize that by not implementing those sort of tried and tested methods that Jennifer was talking about, they think they're smashing it and doing really well, but they could actually be pushing it further, especially sort of those brands that are in the infancy of their sort of paid social or organic social sort of strategies. So I think it's about understanding what you're doing and trying to maintain that competitivity when things do get back to normal, because this is simply a trend that, you know, another trend will come along. And it's about being able to capitalize on it as we keep moving forward.
And I suppose the thing there is, if you think, right, all the shops are closed, certainly are in the UK at the moment. I know it's different in America, Jennifer, at the moment, but most of the shops here are closed. And mostly the number of boxes that arrive in everybody's houses. I wish I had a cardboard box factory. That would be where the money is at the moment. But the number of boxes and van deliveries that are happening, it's like, we're not going to go back to 100% high street, right? That's certainly not going to happen, but we're also not going to stay 100% online. So it's going to be fascinating to see what happens as we ease back into the new normal, or whatever it is we're going to be calling it.